Kenji Sato did not consider himself a hero. He was an archivist historian, one of those who rummage through the dust of forgotten reports, trying to find the names of those the authorities erased from memory. His grandfather, a former officer of the Kwantung Army, had raved before his death about white rats and endless stacks of firewood. He left Kenji an old military map with a red cross marking a spot in a remote forest near Harbin. According to the documents, there was only a medical warehouse there. But Kenji knew Unit 731 was there. When Kenji finally found the bunker entrance, the sun was already setting, painting the sky the color of clotted blood. The heavy steel doors, covered in a finger-thick layer of rust, gave way only after an hour of work with a jack. The air that burst out from inside didn't just smell of dampness. It had a thick, sickeningly sweet aroma of formalin, chlorine, and something reminiscent of an old meat processing plant. Kenji's flashlight sliced through the darkness, pulling a long concrete corridor out of oblivion. On the walls hung posters with Japanese characters calling for hygiene and service to the emperor. Kenji passed empty laboratories where rusty scalps and clamps still lay on the tables. But the real horror began when he descended to the third underground level, to the sector called the log warehouse. In the terminology of Unit 731, people were never called people. They were called maruta, logs. This was done to make it easier for doctors to perform vivisections without anesthesia, or to freeze limbs to test the limits of human endurance. He entered a vast hall, lined with rows of glass cylinders. Most were broken, their contents long turned into a gray mass on the floor. But at the very end of the hall, he saw a light, a dim, yellowish flicker. It was an emergency generator that, by some miracle, continued to work after 70 years. He approached the last cylinder, filled with a transparent, viscous liquid. Inside was it. It had once been human, but now it was a construct made of parts from different bodies. The unit's surgeons had tried to create the perfect biological weapon, a creature that feels no pain, needs no sleep, and can regenerate even after fatal wounds. The creature's face was devoid of skin, exposing muscles that slowly contracted in rhythm with the generator. Its eyes were replaced by large glass lenses, mounted directly into the sockets.
Marta, log number 402.
Kenji whispered, remembering notes from his grandfather's diary. Suddenly, the liquid in the cylinder shuddered. An air bubble rose to the surface. The creature inside opened its mouth, and Kenji saw its jaws had been replaced by steel grinders. It looked directly at him through its glass lenses. There was no pain in that gaze, only an infinite, cold intelligence, nurtured by decades of isolation and hatred. The glass wall of the cylinder cracked. Kenji froze. The glass shattered with a deafening sound, and the viscous liquid spilled out at his feet. The creature slowly, with a sound like the crunch of breaking bones, began to crawl out. Its limbs were unnaturally long, stitched from the leg parts of several people, allowing it to move along the walls like a giant spider.
70 years.
The creature rasped. The voice didn't come from its mouth. It was broadcast through a speaker mounted in its chest.
We have been waiting for fresh material. We need new genes to complete the cycle.
Kenji finally moved. He rushed toward the exit, but the doors of the log sector automatically slammed shut. Magnetic locks, activated by motion sensors, worked flawlessly. Sprayers began to lower from the ceiling, releasing a yellowish gas.
This is Sartina,
The voice from the creature's speaker said.
our own development. It doesn't kill. It makes your flesh as pliable as wax. We need you to be soft when we begin the restoration.
Kenji fell to his knees. He felt his bones becoming flexible, like rubber. His fingers began to fuse together, and his skin turned transparent, exposing pulsating veins. He tried to scream, but his larynx softened, turning into a shapeless bag. The creature lowered itself before him. Its metal grinders clicked.
Do not fear, grandson of Officer Sato.
It whispered, looming over him.
Your grandfather once brought us here. He called us logs. Now we will make you part of our forest.
She began to act, without anesthesia, without mercy. Kenji felt his consciousness remain crystal clear as the creature, with the skillful, surgical movements of its claws, began to disassemble him. 5 years passed. A group of black archaeologists found the entrance to the bunker. They laughed, anticipating a big profit. They descended to the 3rd level.
Look, what a strange wall.
One of them said, reaching out to the soft, shimmering surface that pulsed in time with the generator.
It feels like skin.
In that second, the wall opened thousands of eyes. One of them, dark brown with a small speck on the iris, belonged to Kenji Sato. He saw the new guests. He saw their terror, and he felt a strange, inhuman joy. Hundreds of long, multi-jointed arms ending in surgical instruments extended from the wall.
Step by step.
A chorus of voices echoed from the speakers hanging from the ceiling.
We need more material. We need to expand the forest.
The bunker became active again. Project Log never stopped. It simply waited for new investments. Deep in the forests of Manchuria, the trees continued to grow, feeding on what were once humans, but had now become part of a perfect, eternal system of suffering.